"You can't park here. This Jeep belongs to my daughter now." Those were the exact words that made me freeze on the spot as I walked out of the grocery store with 2 heavy bags in my hands. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. Surely no stranger was bold enough to claim my Jeep Wrangler as her own. But when I lifted my eyes from the bags of groceries, there she was, a woman in her late 40s, hands on her hips, glaring at me like I had just committed a crime. Her short blonde bob was perfectly styled, her oversized sunglasses perched dramatically on her head, and she wore that unmistakable look of self-importance I had only ever seen in memes. Later, I would learn her name, Karen. But at that moment, all I knew was that she was pointing directly at my black Jeep Wrangler, the one I had worked years to afford, the one I washed and maintained with pride, the one with my custom plates. And she was claiming it. Out loud. In public. Sitting in the passenger seat of my Jeep, half inside already, was her teenage daughter, maybe 16 or 17, scrolling on her phone like she owned the place. She leaned back casually, legs stretched out, smirking as though this was just another regular Saturday outing where Mom magically handed her a brand new car. I blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me?" I asked, adjusting the bags in my arms. Karen didn't hesitate. She stepped closer, jabbing a finger at my Jeep like she was unveiling a prize on a game show. "Yes, this Jeep. It's my daughter's now. She's been wanting one for months, and the universe has finally provided. Consider this a blessing, you're giving it to her." I almost laughed. Almost. But the dead serious look on her face stopped me cold. "Ma'am," I said slowly, "this is my Jeep. I bought it with my own money 3 years ago. Here are the keys in my hand. I don't know what kind of confusion this is, but it's definitely not your daughter's car." But Karen wasn't backing down. Her voice grew louder, her tone sharper, as though volume would somehow replace logic. "No, no, no. My daughter deserves this Jeep. She's a good kid, straight-A student, works hard. And you're a grown man, you don't need a flashy vehicle like this. It's selfish for you to keep it when she could actually put it to better use." Her daughter snickered from inside the Jeep, lifting her phone to snap a selfie with the caption I could practically imagine, "First day with my new ride." I felt my blood pressure rising. Was this real life? Was I actually being told to hand over my property because a stranger's kid deserved it? Before I could respond, Karen pulled out her phone and started dialing. Her voice rang out across the parking lot, sharp and shrill. "Yes, 911. I've caught a thief. He's trying to steal my daughter's Jeep. Hurry, he's right here." The audacity left me speechless for a second. She wasn't just delusional, she was weaponizing lies. Around us, other shoppers had started to slow their carts, pretending not to stare while clearly enjoying the free drama. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Inside, though, a storm was brewing. I had dealt with rude people before, but this was next level. And I had a sinking feeling things were about to spiral way beyond a simple misunderstanding. Because when someone like Karen points her finger and screams, "Thief," you know it's never going to end quietly. Karen snapped her phone shut with a dramatic flare, glaring at me like she had just laid down the law of the land. She straightened her sunglasses, smoothed her blouse, and said in a voice dripping with arrogance, "You heard me. This Jeep is my daughter's now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Her tone wasn't just demanding, it was final, like she was delivering a verdict. I shifted the grocery bags against my hip and tried again, keeping my voice calm. "Ma'am, with all due respect, this is my legally purchased vehicle. I've got the registration in the glove box, insurance in my wallet, and the keys right here." I held them up, hoping that logic might break through whatever fantasy she had built in her head. But instead of listening, Karen scoffed and waved her manicured hand dismissively. "Paperwork, paperwork. You men always think waving around some documents means anything. What matters is that my daughter needs this car. She's 16, she's earned it, and this Jeep is sitting here like fate itself delivered it to us." Her daughter leaned out of the open passenger side window, phone in hand, and chimed in, "Yeah, Mom's right. You should just be cool about this. I already posted a story saying I got a Jeep today. My friends are freaking out." I blinked, stunned at the level of entitlement oozing from both of them. "You posted that this was your Jeep?" I asked, disbelief coloring my tone. The girl shrugged, grinning like it was no big deal. Well, it will be, once you stop being stubborn. At that point, I set my groceries down on the pavement because my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer absurdity of the situation. This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. They weren't mistaking my car for theirs. No, this was deliberate, calculated, and shameless. Karen crossed her arms and stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was trying to reason with a child. Look, you're a man in his 30s, right? You don't need this Jeep. What do you even use it for? Commuting to work? Grocery shopping? She gestured to the bags I had set down. That's boring. My daughter will use it for important things: school, cheer practice, hanging out with her friends. She'll actually appreciate it. Her daughter tossed her hair dramatically and added, "Yeah, and I'll totally give you a shout-out on Instagram. Like, thanks to this random guy for being so generous. It'll make you look good." I stared at them both, speechless. It was as if generosity could be forced, like my Jeep was some kind of community giveaway and I was the unlucky donor. Finally, I found my voice. "Ma'am, this Jeep cost me $35,000. I worked years to save up for it. It's not a toy. It's not a prize. It's my property. And no amount of shouting, entitlement, or Instagram clout is going to change that." Karen's eyes narrowed. Her cheeks flushed red as though I had insulted her personally. "So that's how it's going to be," she hissed. "You're going to stand here, in broad daylight, in front of everyone, and refuse to let my daughter have what she deserves?" By now, a small crowd had gathered around us, people pretending to check their phones or rearrange their carts while clearly eavesdropping. I could hear whispers. "Is she serious? She's trying to take his Jeep? This is insane." But Karen thrived on attention. She spun toward the bystanders and raised her voice. "Everyone look. This selfish man is refusing to let a hard-working, deserving young girl have a vehicle that's just sitting here. He's being greedy and cruel." Her daughter nodded vigorously, playing along like she was the star of some tragic play. At that moment, I realized this wasn't going to burn out on its own. Karen wasn't just ridiculous, she was ready to escalate. And when she pulled her phone out again, muttering about getting the cops to sort this thief out, I knew the situation was about to hit its boiling point. It didn't take long. Within 10 minutes, the wail of sirens echoed across the parking lot, and 2 patrol cars rolled in, lights flashing. The crowd that had been quietly observing suddenly grew bolder, whispering and pointing as though this was the main event of a Saturday matinee. Karen straightened her back instantly, plastering on a look of triumph. She waved both arms wildly, jumping up and down like she was flagging down a parade float. "Officers! Over here! Thank goodness you came in time." The officers stepped out, calm and professional, scanning the scene. One of them, a tall man with a steady voice, asked, "Ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" Karen wasted no time. She rushed forward dramatically, pointing at me as if she were the star witness in a courtroom drama. "This man is a thief. He tried to steal my daughter's Jeep right in front of me. She was already sitting in it when he came along with his fake keys. Arrest him immediately." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her daughter even faked a distressed look, clutching her phone to her chest like a victim in need of rescue. I raised my eyebrows but stayed composed. I'd been waiting for this moment. "Officers," I said, holding up my keys, "this is my Jeep Wrangler. I've owned it for years. I have my driver's license, registration, and insurance card right here. Everything matches the VIN number on the car." The officer nodded, accepting the paperwork from me and studying it carefully. Meanwhile, his partner approached Karen. "Ma'am, do you have any documents showing this vehicle belongs to you or your daughter?" Karen's eyes darted left and right before she gave a scoff of pure indignation. "Why should I need documents? My daughter deserves this Jeep. Look at her, she's a straight A student. She's been talking about this car for months. And suddenly, it's here like fate. That's proof enough." The younger officer tilted his head, clearly trying not to laugh. "Ma'am, with respect, wanting a vehicle and owning a vehicle are 2 different things. Do you have proof, title, registration, insurance, anything?" Karen's voice grew louder, her face red with frustration. "Are you questioning me? I'm telling you the truth. This man is lying. His papers are probably forged. Look at him. He doesn't even look like he belongs in a jeep like this." The insult stung, but it also revealed her desperation. She was scrambling, hoping anger would cover her lack of evidence. By now, the officers had all the information they needed. One of them handed back my documents with a firm nod. "Sir, everything checks out. This jeep is registered in your name. Thank you for your patience." Then he turned to Karen. "Ma'am, you've made a very serious accusation. Filing a false report and wasting police resources is not a game." Karen wasn't finished, though. She threw her arms into the air and shouted for everyone to hear, "This is unbelievable! You officers are supposed to protect people like us, not side with criminals. If you don't arrest him, I'll call my lawyer. I'll take this all the way up to the state attorney himself." The crowd gasped again, half amused, half shocked. Karen thought she was pulling out the ultimate card. What she didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that her bluff was about to backfire in the most spectacular way. Karen's voice carried across the lot as she barked into her phone, "Yes. Get me the state attorney's office. I'm dealing with incompetent police who refuse to do their jobs." She was pacing now, stomping her heels against the asphalt like a child throwing a tantrum, convinced she was moments away from victory. The officers exchanged glances, half annoyed, half amused. They had clearly dealt with people like her before. One of them muttered under his breath, "Here we go." Meanwhile, I stood quietly by my jeep, hands folded, calm as ever. Because what Karen didn't know was that I had already sent a quick text to someone the moment she first dialed 911. And that someone wasn't just any lawyer. It was my uncle, the actual state attorney. Fate has a sense of humor sometimes. Within minutes, a sleek black sedan rolled into the parking lot. It didn't have sirens, but the way people immediately moved aside made it clear whoever was inside carried weight. The car door opened, and out stepped a man in a crisp navy suit, briefcase in hand, expression sharp and focused. Karen's eyes lit up like fireworks. She gasped loudly and clutched her daughter's arm. "See? That's him. The state attorney himself. He came because I called." She practically ran toward him, waving her arms like she was greeting a celebrity. "Mr. Attorney, thank heavens you're here. You need to arrest this man immediately and fire these officers. They're useless." The man didn't even look at her. His eyes went straight to me. A slow smile spread across his face as he walked over and extended his hand. "Nephew," he said warmly, "I got your message. Looks like you've had quite the afternoon." The silence that followed was deafening. The crowd collectively gasped. The officers raised their brows. And Karen? She froze mid-step, her confident grin sliding right off her face like melting wax. Did you just say, nephew?" she stammered, pointing between us like her brain couldn't process what was happening. "That's right," my uncle replied smoothly. "This young man is family. And from what I've been told, he's the victim here, not the thief." Karen's jaw dropped. She opened and closed her mouth like a goldfish struggling for air. Her daughter muttered under her breath, "Mom, let's just go," but Karen wasn't ready to give up her performance. "This is some kind of trick," she screeched, her voice cracking now. "He's lying, he must be lying. There's no way the state attorney knows some random man in a grocery store parking lot." My uncle turned to the officers, ignoring her completely. "Gentlemen, thank you for handling this properly. Let me be very clear. Filing a false report, attempting to coerce someone out of their property, and wasting police resources are serious matters. I want her name, and I want a record of this incident on file." The younger officer smirked slightly as he pulled out his notepad. Karen's confidence shattered right there in front of everyone. The crowd whispered furiously, phones recording every second. Karen's daughter tugged on her sleeve, whispering again, "Mom, stop. Please, just stop." But Karen stood frozen, caught between rage and humiliation, realizing the game was over. Because the one man she thought she could bluff with? He was standing right in front of her, on my side. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut with a knife. For the first time since this ridiculous scene began, Karen didn't have a comeback. Her bravado had cracked wide open, and what remained was panic slowly seeping into her expression. The older officer cleared his throat, stepping closer. "Ma'am, as the state attorney just explained, this situation is serious. Filing a false police report is not a misunderstanding, it's a crime. You accused this man of stealing a vehicle that clearly belongs to him. Do you understand the weight of that?" Karen stammered, her hands trembling now. I was just trying to look out for my daughter. She wanted the Jeep, and—" My uncle cut her off sharply. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried the kind of authority that made everyone fall silent. Looking out for your daughter doesn't mean attempting to take what isn't yours. It doesn't mean wasting police time. And it certainly doesn't mean lying to law enforcement. You should be setting an example, not teaching her that lies and entitlement will get her what she wants. Karen's daughter flushed red, her earlier smirk replaced with shame. She mumbled under her breath, "I told you this was a bad idea, Mom." The crowd was buzzing now, phones recording, people whispering to each other like they were witnessing the finale of a reality show. One man even chuckled, "This is better than TV." The younger officer scribbled notes on his pad before looking Karen dead in the eye. "Ma'am, you'll be cited for filing a false police report today. This goes on record. If something like this happens again, we won't be issuing warnings, you'll be facing arrest." Karen's eyes widened in horror. "A citation? On my record? No, you can't do this to me. Do you know who I am?" My uncle raised an eyebrow, the faintest smirk tugging at his lips. "Yes, ma'am. And now, so does everyone else in this parking lot. You're the woman who tried to steal a car in broad daylight and called the police on the rightful owner. Congratulations." The laughter that erupted from the crowd was immediate. Some people clapped, others shook their heads in disbelief. Karen's face turned crimson. Her daughter buried her face in her hands, wishing she could disappear. Finally, the officers handed Karen the citation slip. "You're free to leave, ma'am, but I strongly suggest you think very carefully before ever trying something like this again." Karen snatched the paper, muttering curses under her breath, and yanked her daughter away by the arm. They stomped toward their car, but not before enduring the humiliation of dozens of phones still recording their walk of shame. As they drove off, tires screeching, I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Relief washed over me, mixed with a deep sense of satisfaction. My uncle turned to me, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. "You handled yourself well today. You stayed calm, let the truth speak for itself, and trusted the system. That's exactly what you should have done." I smiled, grateful. "Thanks, Uncle. Honestly, if you hadn't shown up, I don't know how far she would have taken it." He chuckled. "People like her always take it too far. But the important thing is, you stood your ground." As I loaded my groceries into the Jeep and prepared to finally head home, I glanced around at the dispersing crowd. Some gave me thumbs up, others just shook their heads in disbelief. One woman even called out, "Good for you. Don't let people like her walk over you." Driving away in my Jeep had never felt so sweet. The leather seats seemed more comfortable, the engine's rumble more satisfying. And the moral was crystal clear. Entitlement can scream, lie, and even call the cops, but it can't stand against proof, patience, and the truth. As for Karen, I could only hope she learned her lesson. Because when you try to steal from someone backed by the law, and family in the right places, your downfall is inevitable.